That's right, Marincess, of all things, shakes up an entire national championship. I'll big 30% of you that have not smashed the ever-living crap out of that subscribe button. Smash it so you guys don't miss out on more awesome content. Today we're going to be looking at the Swedish national breakdown here. And your biggest represented deck and top cut is, well, cashed here. I mean, it's the same generic trend that we've been seeing here. I think we're going to continue to see this up through, the next two YCSs here, as this deck is going to continue to, still maintain its hold on the format. Like, there's a reason why this deck has evolved to the point that it has, because it is able to handle so many different situations at this point in time. Its hand trap coverage is absolutely bonkers, and it's playing on a very minuscule engine, and it does amazing things. We also had two super heavy samurai variants out of this event, which I'm not surprised to see that Super Heavy Samurai has been on the follow-up. Honestly, Super Heavy Samurai has been very much behind Cashier. Now, we've seen it overcome it in certain regions, but it hasn't been a super strong turnover, to be perfectly honest with you. Now, the things that actually caught my attention here, we had double Labyrinth in the top cut of this event, which is actually very, very interesting. Labyrinth has been in a very all over the place position as of late, and seeing some of these nationals and how we've had this deck kind of coming back into the light, it's actually been kind of nice. Also, it's a slower paced control deck. If it can actually go first and accomplish what it wants to do with its traps, then the deck obviously can go into a very good position. And then, of course, we had Marincess on the clapback for this event, which I think was by far one of the most exciting things to actually see, that, water is kind of returning back to the game here and showcasing that, hey, this deck can actually do something. All right, we're going to pass on over to top deck list. All right, so the first list we're going to be looking at here is cash money dollar bills. So we are main decking the shifters. Interesting enough, we opted to shove the Droll and Lockbirds into the side deck. It's very interesting to see, just the cutoff from this, and the duelists not choosing to really, play these. And of course, we are exploring Gamma, because this is just turned into an amazing card. And of course, poor Rise Heart here just keeps getting reduced in terms of numbers. More and more people just are like, I don't want to go full commitment with this. I perfectly understand that. I don't see that we're main decking a Harpy's Feather Duster. We've seen this pop up a little bit. This hasn't been like a major thing that has been seen competitive play, but it's definitely kind of interesting. We are going full hard here. We're double talents and triple thrust. If the opponent is trying to activate any sort of effect, this deck is going to be making an attempt to edge it out and make sure that it actually cannot function whatsoever. So I think that's kind of interesting. I also see we're playing Mistaken Arrest down here. So I assume that you'd probably side this in against something like Super Heavy Samurai, who's going to go ahead and literally start, the massive vacuum of adding infinite cards in their deck to the hand. So this is a little bit of a cool tech choice here that this build is choosing to play. But outside of that, it's pretty interesting. We have Kumamungas down here as well, but okay. Next up here is Super Heavy Samurai. We still are playing the Gearbox. I've seen one build, I think, out of every build that has ever topped with this deck that is, it was like, hey, you don't have to play this. I think you do, because it is the best package. Interesting things down here. We do see the Swajda floor here actually seeing play. You can target one monster, you control one card on the field, special summon this card, and if you do, destroy those cards. And it actually gives you an immediate out to literally anything, which actually is really, really good. This deck needs to be able to have monster effects like this that it can properly be able to benefit from. And of course, the classic Spell Canceller side in here, off the Cleefort Genius Interaction, Cerugian on out, blah, blah, blah. We all know this. And then this build actually opted to see play with the prohibitions here. Now, I haven't seen a lot of this, actually. I've seen Summon Limit. I think there might have been one or two other builds that was actually opting for the prohibition, but this does actually protect you from, getting drolled. So on the actual value town, if you can see this, for preventative measures, you can actually protect yourself so you don't lose to one of the more random things that's kind of going to ruin your day out here. So overall, these decks, these builds always feel very, very, very staple to me. So it's kind of nice to see there's some very different things. Next up here, we have our Marincess list. Now, straight off the bat, 2-Dive has been so engraved in my head after looking at all these lists. Nobody wants to dedicate extra slots to dive. Just 2 is fine. And of course, the number of battle oceans is still 1. Every time I play this deck, I'm like, I really want the second battle ocean, but perfectly understandable. We are really hand-trapped here. Like 3, 6, 8, 11, 14, technically 15, 16 if you're counting these. So you are absolutely going to be relying on these. It really is a shame, because I know somebody's always going to look at this stuff and they're going to go, wow, like, it's so cool that, Marincess did well. Well, you mean hand traps with a 1-card engine? Because that's kind of realistically how it's looking at this point in time. The format's degenerated so much here that having to rely on, the unfortunate 1-card package to get the deck off of the ground is what you're seeing at this point in time. And of course, you're going to have to rely on Sea Turtle here to make sure that you can, set up and kind of do your thing. But overall, I'm not surprised to see. Once again, like I just said, 1-card engine built in with a lot of good hand traps actually will carry you quite a ways. All right, what else we got back here? Hey, it's IKEA. So, funny story about this deck. In the name, they literally just calling this deck IKEA because it's literally a furniture store. All right, the labyrinth needed furniture. Congratulations, you went to IKEA, you built it yourself. You're literally off to the races for this deck. Still main decking the 1 Eradicator Epidemic Virus. This has been, I don't think I've seen any builds out here actually not playing this. I see that we are actually playing the Chaos Goddess in here. Some actual world where this comes up, you can do it. That's all that really matters, I suppose. The biggest thing I care about here is, being able to make this guy. Extra deck is always going to be utility-based for this deck. I also see that we are on triple Ariana, which is fine. Triple of the good one, and then one of these subpar one. And we're actually main decking the field spell. A lot of people do not... I've seen the field spell cited more out of this format than I think I really should have seen this card see play. A lot of people have just tossed this in the corner, and I get it. It's not as great as it once was, but for what you're kind of seeing for this deck, this feels kind of standard. And that's a lot of the vibes that I get out of a lot of this format. Is a lot of the builds feel very, very figured out at this stage. It's kind of what it is. All right, next up here we have more Kashtira dollar bills. Yeah, so this build takes us back to the Dimension Shifter Droll and Lockbird that we've been seeing literally everywhere at this point in time. All right, like, decks are literally relying on these 2 cards in order to play the game. I will say that I think one of the biggest things that Kashtira has going for it that has allowed this deck to kind of round out a majority of the metagame is because you have Shifter for one half of the format, you have Droll to literally handle the other half of the format. All right, and even, even in certain matchups where, Shifter might not be the best, this card can actually do a lot of damage to your opponent, and that's what you need here from these. Now, I think the interesting thing about this is this list opted for no Gammas, which is a ballsy move. Like, Gamma has been the go-to for Kashtira for the last few weeks. Like, I would honestly say the inclusion of Gamma has revolutionized this deck into the monster that it actually is now. Like, Gamma has been such an aggro push for this deck to be able to kind of overcome things. And, if your opponent's going to try to Ash or, draw you on the activation of Race Loth, you just chain Gamma, you go to town. So that is our breakdown for the Sweden Nationals. It might not look the most exciting, and I understand that, but bear with me here, as, information is still information, and, Marincess actually topping is actually very, very valuable to see. So what do you guys think? Please leave a comment down below. Tell me what you guys think. I'll see your beautiful faces back here later in the day, guys. Peace out. Patrons, thank you.
Thank you so much for watching. Check out these other videos.